dragging parts, like a dragon.
Yeah.
Like a dragon D's nuts on your face.
I knew it was gonna happen. I didn't say anything. I just nodded the whole time.
Yeah.
This motherfucker really told us to stop with our jokes just to make a.
Y'all were being. Hello, everyone. We're the Continuity Crew. I'm Will.
I'm TJ.
What's up?
That's Win.
That's Win.
Today we're back. What are we calling this? Is this a big feature film or Streaming Junkies? Let's do Streaming Junkies because they're lighter.
Because it's technically on. It's streaming on HBO Max, so it technically be a
watched
streaming
it on
junkie.
HBO Max.
He watched it on HBO Max.
So we'll call this a Streaming Junkies episode, whatever.
Big feature streaming junkies.
Big
Oh,
features.
it's a collab.
Yes. Yes. The same
Shows
hosts for
collide.
both shows collab together.
Yeah.
And then I'm also here.
And we have special guest TJ back from the weekly or
We brought the sexy back.
It's not my responsibility. Okay, just wherever I go, sexy goes.
It
Exactly.
happens. It happens.
It happens.
So, Dune, we're going to talk about it. As always, though, like, comment, subscribe, share this with people. Like, Dune,
favorite it.
Favorite it, yeah.
It's kind of inevitable.
Why did we cut to that?
So, Dune, the original Dune was written by, I believe it was, what's his name?
Denis Villeneuve.
Frank Herbert. Back in like the 1960s, and it was later adapted in I believe the 80s by David Lynch, which was strongly criticized.
I liked it quite a bit.
I like it as well.
It's pretty good.
But we have Denis Villeneuve coming back and visiting Dune.
Yeah, I think we talked about this after we had watched it. The last movie he directed was Blade Runner 2049, and then he had like a 4-year thing where he was working on Dune. Yeah, definitely working on Dune.
So it follows a son and a royal family who is gifted the most valuable planet in a bunch of planets and the resources that come with it. So that's your summary plot, I guess. But it got a summary plot.
Summary of the plot.
Sure. But huge cast. Huge cast. I want to touch on that. Timothy, I'm not even going to name him. Timothy Chalamet's the star, and Rebecca Ferguson, and I guess Jason Momoa are your most screen time.
That was Isaac.
Yeah, but
Clark?
spoiler alert.
No, that's the dude from Dead Space.
Oscar Isaac dies pretty early.
Oscar Isaac, that's it. Dude.
I said spoiler alert.
But you didn't even give him time to pause and get off the
I don't
video.
If you're watching this, you've probably seen it.
That's fair.
So
It's like the old one, in case you want to know.
yeah, so plot did that. Characters. Favorite characters. Let's touch on that. Anyone have a favorite character? Because
Jason Momoa
same.
was my favorite.
Yeah, I don't have one.
I didn't think Win
That's
would.
because you're a cynical bastard.
I'm a cynical bastard.
No, I understand that. Like
I do
Jason
too.
Momoa was barely a favorite character, and again, spoiler alert, they kill him off. So I mean, they kill off like everybody. So
It's weird though, because there was supposed to be, it says, he sees him with the what are they called
Fremen.
again? Yeah, the Fremen. But we never see him with the Fremen, but then he just dies.
well, he got to the Fremen.
Yeah, but it's
He
like-
befriended him.
But he himself, Timothy or whatever his last name is.
Premonitions and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
premonitions saying
Whatever.
he saw him with the Fremen. Like,
Well,
I don't know. It's weird. I thought okay, anyway, keep going.
No, you're good.
No,
I
well,
mean,
the
go
black
for
guy
it.
was also supposed to help Timothy Chalamet to do shit, and then he just kills him off the first thing they
Maybe
met.
he's not
So
the one.
Yeah, I started to say, I think that's supposed to be a different person.
I don't know.
I think that was just I think you're being.
I don't know. I'm just getting it from the movie. I'm just pretending
yeah.
like I don't know. I don't know shit. So
I will say, I was a little confused. I don't think that it's the same guy from the Visions, but it could be, and there might be some
What are you
more
implying?
mystical shit. I don't know, man.
God, you both did the same joke to each other. Let's move on.
I was getting pissed
So
over here,
characters,
damn.
there's a lot of characters in this movie with a lot of big names, and I kind of wanted to touch on that because it reminded me of one of our first streaming junkies. It might have been the first. Was Devil All the Time,
Oh yeah, Devil All the Time,
which had a
huge.
great cast, and it kind of was iffy. whether you liked it or not, I wouldn't say this was as iffy. There was a lot of, I guess, pros, but also a lot of cons for this movie.
Yeah, definitely.
So we'll talk about that. I think Wynn has a lot to say, so he can.
Why are you starting with me?
Because I
want to start with the fans. I want to know what you guys thought about it.
I think we all agree how we feel about this movie, but I want you to take the lead on it. So we can just piggyback off of what you say.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to start with the positives or negatives?
Let's start with
the negatives.
That's what I was gonna say.
Okay. This is a controversial one because we talked about this beforehand about how long it was. I was gonna say, I think this movie could benefit being a little longer. There are scenes in there where it's like, I think it's cut a little too short, and there are scenes in there where it should be extended. For example, like some parts in like the desert parts that they could have increased that a little bit, and then maybe some of the beginning, because like that was really draggy. Or like maybe even the scene with Josh Brolin and Timothy Chalamet just kind of like training, that they could have benefited a little bit to being a little longer.
Yeah, the scene in the original Dune is like, I think it's like a 10-minute scene where they do that.
It was like 5 minutes or something, but it was you couldn't see shit in the first one.
It looks awful, but regardless.
But, this could have benefited from such a longer
I didn't
movie.
expect that from Wynn, but go ahead, TJ.
The beginning of this movie kind of reminded me of, you guys ever seen it's like a Russian movie called Solaris. Have you guys ever seen that movie? Movie's like 3 hours long, and it's supposed to be like they go to this place called Solaris. That's like the whole thing, but it takes them an hour to get to the actual to get there. And the director said he did it intentionally because he wanted you to like be in that same comfort space of being on Earth, and then whenever you actually get to space, like it gets really claustrophobic because you got ripped away from that comfort zone. That's kind of what I was thinking, but in my opinion, I kind of disagree with what you're saying. I thought a lot of the intro stuff could have just been cut a lot shorter, because I felt like a lot of it was kind of, I don't know, it felt like a lot of stuff that happened in the beginning could have been like omitted, and then some of the later scenes being extended. Like I do agree with you on the stuff in the desert being extended, but I think the stuff in the beginning could have been cut a little shorter.
No, I'm not talking about specifically.
Okay.
Like I'm talking about like moments of scenes. Like there are scenes where it's like, I think one of them was, I think it was Zendaya talking, or like the narration scene. I feel like that entire part could have been cut a little maybe shorter, because like if we just talking about the first one, this is something that I didn't like about the first one, because I watched it recently, is that they literally explained the first half of the movie in the narration, and I felt like if they cut all of that out,
Wynn hates narration.
I hate narration, and there's like I'm not saying that they shouldn't exist in movies, but there are times when it's great. Yeah,
good narration. Shawshank Redemption. I think the narration is don't you do it. Don't you do it, Wynn.
I'm not. I was gonna go with like I was gonna be like, you know, if they really needed this narration in this movie, maybe have the scenes, actually some scenes play in it or something that's just like, oh yeah, this is where this is. Well, I guess they did, but what I'm saying is narration to me for this movie could have been removed. They could have just like had someone not explain it but show it, have someone just like go through the motion of the movie, because like we're taking up so much time just for them to talk about the movie and not actually watch the movie.
Yeah, so on that point, I definitely think this movie is 2 hours and 35 minutes of world building for part 2 that we'll hopefully get. And I can respect that in a sense, because in the way it'll be in like whenever we might get Dune part 2 is like it'll pay off. But right now it's like it's long, it's slow and kind of drawn out, but also to win stuff there could be scenes that are extended, but also like there's a lot of dragging parts, like a dragon.
Yeah,
like a dragon D's nuts on your face.
I knew it was gonna happen. I didn't say anything. I just nodded the whole time.
This motherfucker really told us to stop with our jokes just to make a
y'all were being one. I'll give a pro to, I guess, Wynn's is how pretty the movie was. That's why anyone who has asked about it, like, oh, what do you think? I was like, it's gorgeous. But like honestly, that's my biggest pro is like it was beautiful. Me and TJ went and saw it in IMAX. Wynn watched it from home, and I'm surprised. He said he enjoyed it watching at home, which
it was funny because I actually read I read a couple of articles yesterday that a lot of people had said that Dune was too big for like their home TV screens. Because of like I don't know, but it's like there was literally an article saying Dune is too big for your TV screen. I was like, how does that work out?
Yeah, there's a few scenes I could maybe relate to that.
Yeah, maybe,
but like I haven't watched it at home, so I don't know.
I don't know. IMAX was definitely the way to go on this one, though. It was.
I think
gorgeous.
IMAX. I mean, and then when we'll say it's not real IMAX, but it's the best we've got.
Well, the reason why I said that I enjoyed watching it at home. Because then I could really focus on the story more. Because this is like I keep going back to this, but like what Roger Deakins says is like he's a cinematographer for Blade Runner 2049. He says that when you're doing cinematography or anything like that, the cinematography shouldn't get in the way of the story. And that's what I mainly focus on when it comes to movies, for example, like Dune, where it looks like it's just one big spectacle. So I really wanted to get into the story, so that's why I enjoyed it at home, because then I can like, oh yeah, okay, so this is what the characters are doing, and this is why I don't give a shit about a lot of these characters. So like that's
a good point.
So
that is a good point.
I'm going to watch it in IMAX, but primarily just because of the whole picture, because I love the cinematography for this. I like the way they did it. I do, however, still want to see what Roger Deakins would have done, because I think he would have done something incredible with it.
I think they have like...
Oh, what was he like originally the one that was tied to it or something?
No, but Denis Villeneuve and Roger Deakins have worked before.
Yeah, they worked together on Blade Runner 2049. Yeah. That movie is, oh my gosh, that movie is beautiful.
And from what he did with, like, for example, like that one desert area.
It is beautiful, but the movie itself is
pretty
good. It's pretty good.
It was my favorite movie at one point.
I know.
Before Uncut Gems came out. And now Uncut Gems my favorite
I can respect Uncut Gems. I think it is two different viewing experiences. I wanted my first one to be in a theater. I think most of the time that's what I want, but it can be person to person. So, and I think it is interesting that when liked it from watching at home because he could focus on the story, because that's not necessarily something I would expect from Wynn. So it's good to hear that. So
I think I would have probably, if I had the option, I would have done the same to Interstellar, because like when I watched it in theaters, like it was so loud and
just
like
overwhelming.
And like it's just so like there were so many. The bass in this theater is just high up there, and like I couldn't hear the dialogue for a couple of them. And I was like, when I finally sat down and watched it on my TV, I was like, oh, okay, that's what I missed. Because like I feel like you'll miss a lot of things when you're watching movies.
That makes sense, because and that's relatable, because I've only seen Interstellar in on like a TV. So like, and like thinking about seeing that in theaters, I'd be like, yeah, I'd be overwhelmed by it, and like it'd be beautiful and cool, but like I'd be like taking in more of the cinematography than the actual story. So that makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing with me. Like I remember watching Interstellar in theaters, and I was blown away by how it looked and like the music and stuff like that. But there were moments that I missed because like Matthew McConaughey talks in his low voice pretty much the whole movie.
All right.
And yeah, it's you know, it's hard to follow a lot of the dialogue because it was like,
and especially Dune, we have whispering Timothy Chalamet.
Yes, Dune. That was you know, if we're gonna go into cons, that was definitely my biggest con, was that the movie's sound editing was very lackluster when it comes to the vocals, because like I could hardly understand.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know the prayer that what was her name, his mom or whatever. Like she said a prayer, and she said it like 2 or 3 times, and it was the third time when I could finally understand what the hell they were saying, because the first time you've got, you know, Timothy whatever, his hand in a box, and he's like screaming, and she's praying, and I'm like, that was another thing. I thought that one scene was done. I would rather have focused solely on Timothy. Instead of having it do the like really harsh jump cuts between the two. I thought that was rough.
I kind of liked it because in Lynch's version, that scene it feels weird.
It's David Lynch.
I know, but like just like how it's shot and stuff. I mean, the whole movie does, but it was, I liked it because it does lead later, because we have essentially the two main characters are him and his mom.
Yeah.
And so it was cool to see that connection and stuff. And I will say, I saw like stills of his face in that scene. I mean, that dude can act.
Yeah.
I'll give it to him. I mean, he may be quiet in this movie, but his like facial expressions are insane. So it made me want to be like, I wonder if I can do that.
Yeah.
He always seems high to me.
He does. He does.
He's on that.
Well, it's funny because was it Pretty Boy? Is that the name of that one?
Beautiful Boy.
Beautiful Boy. Pretty Boy sounds
drug addict.
Yeah, he's a drug addict, so that makes total sense.
Yeah. He never got out of that role, method acting.
he's been method
For some reason
since.
he's in the same vein as like Ezra Miller and Joker.
Yeah.
What the f is his name?
Joaquin?
No, the other one.
Joaquin.
Jack Nicholson.
No, the other one.
Heath Ledger.
Yeah, Heath.
It's because
no, not Heath Ledger. The other one.
You talking about Jared Leto?
Yeah, Jared Leto.
Last but
Come on, that was the last one you guys named.
Actually,
you guys
there's even one more. There was that guy who played him on the Gotham TV show.
Well, him, and then you could go back to Adam West.
Oh yeah, jeez,
love him to death.
That stuff, like I like cheesiness. That shit's way too.
I love it,
man. It's like, if you were here right now, I'd pound you to a pulp. And he like steps out from behind a curtain. He's like, start pounding Joker, and it's like, ooh, there's a lot of bad.
It's so good.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not bad.
But
not great.
Back to Dune. Do you have any other likes and dislikes like that you want to touch on? When
A lot of goddamn premonitions.
yes.
Like,
well, and to be fair,
I get it. It's supposed to be for part 2, but for anyone who has no idea what the f is going on, they're gonna be like, "Why are we watching this part?"
They're gonna be like, "What the f is going on?"
Yeah.
No, it was pretty hard to follow at certain points. Like there was points when, because it never like transit. There were like that one scene where they were like finally with the Fremen. And he has that vision of Jason Momoa with the Fremen. I was like, what, is that supposed to be a guy who looks exactly like Jason Momoa?
Yeah.
Because there was no indication that it transferred to a premonition.
Yeah.
There was just like, oh, okay, here's the scene, and then it's jumped. I thought they maybe could have gave some better like visual cues that it was a premonition, because they did on some of the other ones. It would be like really harsh light, kind of out of focus. But that one was like, okay, there's Jason Momoa with the Fremen. I was like, wait a minute, is he not dead?
Yeah.
So it just confused me.
I don't know if like the whole point of this movie is for him to have like kind of a psychic power kind of thing, where it's like he sees the future or something.
And it is the whole thing. So I caught up on my Dune lore before watching it. But like the whole thing is, Rebecca Ferguson's character was supposed to have a daughter to be part of the it starts with a B, but like the witches. But instead, she loved Oscar Isaac so much, and he wanted a son. She had a son instead, and now she's like, oh, well, is he going to be the one type person? And so it kind of makes sense.
Well, see, that's another thing in the lore. In the book, the women of that like brotherhood or whatever can actually choose if they want to have a boy or girl. Like, it's not like,
well, that's like,
you were supposed to get a girl, but you had a boy and said, no, she can just go, oh, I want a boy instead of a girl, and then just have a boy. And the thing is, not only is it not explained really, and there's that weird throwaway line where it's like, you were supposed to have a girl, but instead, whatever. And it's like, it didn't make sense to me at the time, but I was talking to a buddy of mine who's like, oh yeah, no, it's not explained in the book either.
Yeah.
So why would they didn't explain it in the movie? But yeah, the women of that can choose the gender of the child.
Yeah, this movie is just full of like, it's more questions than actual. Like,
yes,
that's
absolutely.
That's why I said like this movie is more of a spectacle than an actual movie.
Yeah, here's your clickbait title: Dune, the question, the movie.
The question.
The question, the movie.
Yeah.
Nice.
This movie is just one big question.
Just Dune. It's a movie, and then it's all of us going like this.
I hate it when movies do like they expect a part 2 or like a sequel kind of thing.
Yeah, because I feel like if you film a movie with a sequel in mind, then you'll start automatically going to like, oh, let's make cliffhangers. Oh, let's make weird shit that's only gonna matter in the next movie.
Literally the MCU.
Yeah. Yes.
It's
but it's a continuous story with the MCU.
Yes.
It's just like
this is like a singular event. What's the one movie that they're filming back to back right now? Or
are you talking about Avatar?
Yes, those. They're filming those back to back.
They filmed the next like 5 of them back to back.
So like that makes sense. Like they're just shooting them. It's happening. They made $1 billion. So
why the wouldn't you?
Well, yeah.
That?
So
I mean, it was the highest grossing film at one point.
It still is.
Is it still? I thought
it's back at number 1 now.
Oh, okay.
Because they re-released it in China.
Oh, of course they did. Sorry, back to Dune.
Back to Dune.
More from you, Win? Anything?
One that really this one's a very niche complaint. And this one's like very, what do you call that? Now this is kind of nitpicky, but the blue in the eyes for the Fremen. The blue in their eyes changes. Like it could be like in one scene it's gonna be the whole eye, and then another is just gonna be the kind of the
just
iris,
the iris,
like the iris, and then like after that it's like blurry, and it's weird because like I feel like they did that in a very cheap sense. They didn't actually put any effort into it, but I know they did. And also the color palette for the eyes, they did not match the rest of the color palette, the movie's color palette. Like it just,
it was very light. Yeah.
It's very bright. It's just,
and everything else is pretty much like pretty dull.
It's
like,
pretty,
it's like
yeah.
a weird like sand color. I don't know what type of color that is.
It's
like,
muted. It's more like the saturated blues than actual like vivid blue, like that blue over there that we have on the poster. Everything else was like pretty nice and muted, and then they just pop out and it's like it sticks out and it doesn't match with everything else. It's weird because in the trailers it's just their iris. It's not their whole eyes. So I don't know.
It's like kind of a weird continuity error almost.
Yeah.
Continuity. I think it could be maybe a technical error, but it could also be so the whole thing with their blue eyes, it's because they've ingested like so much spice.
Yeah,
it just you get the blue eyes eventually.
That's just what happens.
And it could be just it's supposed to be mystical or whatever, but also like I didn't pay too much attention. So
what's funny because it's like it's supposed to be mystical, but in reality they explain it early on. It's like a hallucinogenic.
Yeah.
Like who knows? He could not even really be like a chosen guy. He could just be tripping balls on spice.
Yeah, sure.
I love how it doesn't have any other like crazy type of name. It's just called spice.
Spice. Yeah.
Like in Avatar, it's like unobtainium is the metal they're looking for, and then it's like, we're just going to this planet that's all sand for spice. Like that's the most valuable
it was
thing.
The 60s.
No, they did have a name in the 80s.
Did they?
Yeah, they did. I don't remember the name because I remember.
I can't remember either, but I know exactly what you're talking about. They did have a name for it, so that means they actually dumped it down.
Yeah, they dumped it down a little
bit. I think they even said it, but the name
I don't remember. Again, because I probably didn't fucking hear it because the sound editing on it was so bad.
But I think it's just
for the audio though. Just for the audio though. Like the soundtrack, Hans Zimmer, we love you. You killed it.
Yeah. But the consistency.
Melange.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember that now
But like spice is the slang word.
Yeah, I was trying to find answers for it. Like, why don't they just say a name? And I was like, I'm just gonna watch the first one. Maybe they have the answer for it. Oh, that's another thing about this movie, is that this is kind of like a 1-to-1 with the older one, but not in the copy sense. More like the first one answered questions that this one came up. This one didn't answer, but this one answered questions that the first one didn't. So like it's weird because when I was
still just as confused.
Yeah. Well, they're like
you're just confused. Now, if those movies actually fused together, it would answer all the questions.
Yeah, for sure.
Villeneuve, it was just like expecting like, oh, you've seen the Lynch version, so like I'm gonna answer all the questions that didn't. So
that's fair, I guess.
Or I don't know. It feels like he made this, or Warner Bros, whoever you want to give credit to, because they're like, okay, Lynch messed it up. And this is a great story. Like,
still, I don't think he messed it up though either.
Herbert's he won awards for this book. It was way ahead of its time.
Oh, yeah,
and we haven't even touched on this, but like it's a story about like class and politics and stuff, and it's a really cool way to do it. And so it's definitely a pro. I think they did that pretty well in the movie, of still showing the class of people and like the politics between like class and all that. So
something that probably is somewhat controversial now, or like for me to say this, because the movie is called Dune, but I feel like the desert is more of a temporary setting. And I know the movie's called Dune, but man, when the scenes in the desert parts were the ones that kind of bored me a little bit. When they're in something like the caves or like whatever the caverns that they called it,
Yeah.
it's more interesting. But when they're just walking around,
Plus that shot of the actual sandworm
Yeah.
coming up, that was
that's
that
cool.
gave me goosebumps a little bit because it was a really good shot. I
Yeah.
thought it was awesome.
When there's something happening, it's
cool, yeah.
interesting. But like when they're just like walking around, it's like, well, I'm just really bored now.
Yeah, it's kind of like for me like The Princess Bride, like the movie is really cool. It has all the flashy stuff, but I actually read the book one time. There's a lot of like political boring shit that happens in between all the cool stuff, and like now I understand the line when the grandpa's like, oh yeah, I'll admit the boring stuff, because he's like, you see him flipping through like a bunch of pages to get to the interesting stuff, and that's kind of what it was for me. I was like, oh, when there's actually action and fighting, because the acting or the fighting in this I thought was awesome. I thought it was well choreographed. There wasn't a lot of like abrupt cuts, like, you know, MCU's great, but a lot of the fight scenes, they have like 19 cuts for one move in a fight. And this one I felt like there was a lot of really cool, like, not huge continuous shots, but they didn't cut as much as they could have, and I thought it was really good. But yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly. When something's happening, it's awesome. But then when they start talking politics, I'm like I just started nodding off. Yeah.
Everything about this movie is fair enough. Everything about this movie is just kind of a pick and choose what you liked about it, because I think I'm gonna go to like a positive note here real quick, because like this is definitely a pick and choose. The first part, or not the first part, the scene where the priest looking dude arrived to announce that the House Atreides was gonna get Arrakis. The costume design in there was great.
Awesome, yes.
I fucking love that part. I texted Will while I was watching, and while you guys were still in the theater, I was like, dude, that part is sick. And then they finally got to Arrakis with the desert people, and they had those suits, the silver suits. It didn't fit the movie. It didn't feel right. It felt like I was watching something else. Because, like, I get it. I understand that there's supposed to be a class difference. But at the same time, when you're creating this atmosphere where it's like futuristic, it's very nice, it's very classy, even for some parts, it threw me off that the suits were like that, because like
and another thing, like the suits themselves are also super futuristic because it recycles your own sweat and stuff.
I get that, yeah,
but then like the suit itself just looks like something you could go down to like Spirit Halloween.
Yeah,
like almost.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool.
That's because you're wrong.
Anyway. I think it's just the appearance of the suit that bothers me more than anything.
I'll just move on from it. I thought they were cool. I mean, I don't have anything to defend it. I just thought they were cool.
I'm not expecting much from that. I'm just saying
I could see
it's weirdly texturized.
Yes.
I could see a Oscar nod for costume design though.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I think that
this will probably get a lot of.
I assume, again, because 2, 4, 6, 8. This was an Oscar bait. Like,
sure was.
For sure.
Another thing, some of the lines were goofy. For this movie.
Yeah.
My goodness, man. I tried to ignore them throughout the movie. I tried to.
I actually agree with him.
I mean, I hear you, but like, I don't know. I watched a lot of shit. So
did you watch it twice?
I didn't.
You didn't, exactly.
Did you?
Yeah. Because like I felt like I was missing something. For example, the whole desert thing, and the premonitions. That's why. Okay, so what happened was I watched this. I watched the first Dune, and then I watched it again, like this one. And I was like, yeah, I'm still fucking missing shit. And I didn't want to watch the second part of Dune because I didn't know what I'm supposed to be looking for.
Yeah, that's kind of like what happens when you make a 2.5 hour long movie, is that, and especially when you make some of the scenes pretty quick and then you make some of the other scenes drag on, is that, I feel like you miss a lot of stuff, and it's definitely going to be a movie I'm going to have to watch a couple more times to like get the full grasp. I will say another pro, my favorite scene for sure in this movie was that scene. Was this like Dave Bautista's character is like uncle, and he like rises up out of his chair.
Yes.
And then he says
"This is my Dune."
Yeah, this is my Dune. Kind of a goofy line, but it was a super cool scene, like the way it was shot. And again, I think I
like the audio thing they did there though, like we need silence, and they put that wall.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then it was like muffled with the subtitles. Yeah. I thought that was a nice touch. And again, it comes back to like this place is supposed to be. Isn't it supposed to be like in the year like 10,000 something?
Yeah.
But they still use swords. Like nobody like did. I never saw a gun.
So he had his pistol thing.
He had his little pistol.
So in the Dune universe, they've killed all machines because it's more about you as a person, like your ability, and they don't have like AI and all that stuff. So I assume that extends to like certain like technology.
Yeah, that makes sense then, I guess. If that's the case, then it would explain why like, everybody wants like fights like super well.
It's more about in combat, your person and like and that's why like Paul's been trained since like birth to be this guy, like the guy.
What is it? Heroes don't lead because they want to; they're called to it.
Yeah.
Excuse me while I go fucking die.
I want to. Have you guys read any criticisms about this movie?
I haven't.
No, I haven't either.
I think the best one to me was I mentioned this to Will yesterday. Actually, the best one for me, the best criticism I saw was like unnecessary remake, and you could almost say that in every movie where it's like it's an unnecessary movie, because like honestly, if there is such thing as an unnecessary remake, but remakes to me are kind of like one of those things where you just kind of want to see. Well, at least for me, I'm curious what they're gonna do.
See, that was the thing. I like remakes, but like, cause I've seen remakes where the original director kind of came back and had like something to do with it. Because in my opinion, if the original director comes back, then it might be stuck. That remake might be a chance for him to fix something that he thought he did wrong. Yeah. And then other remakes that maybe like a different director decided, hey, I'm going to try to remake this movie. Then it's like, okay, well, now you get to see a different directing style, like try to do that. Yeah. It's kind of a bad example, but Total Recall. Yeah. Like they had the original with Arnold Schwarzenegger, which was great movie. Love that movie. Then they had the remake with Colin Farrell and not Kate Winslet. That's from Titanic. Kate Beckinsale.
So the only time I disagree with the whole remake thing is when they actually do like word for word remake. So for example, like I think the best one I could think of was Lion King. That one's basically a word for word. I think it was cool what they did.
Now, is this a remake or is it a reboot?
This one? Yeah. This was definitely more of a remake. Or
I don't know.
Yeah, this was definitely more a remake.
Or is it? I think a reboot kind of tells the story a different way and in this one it was kind of like they just told the story again but with better like visuals, like obviously because it's
it's funny because it feels like it's an adaptation of the book is what it's advertised as like Denis Villeneuve wants to advertise it as probably, but it feels like almost a 1-for-1 from Lynch's, like Lynch gets the hate for some reason.
Exactly.
So
I mean it's
because again it was too ahead. They didn't know what they had. They didn't know how good they had it, and then they lost him. Well, no, he's still alive. Never mind.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you lose him, then I'm going to come back on this show, and I'm going to say that exact same thing. It's going to make sense.
It's crazy.
It's I think it's
3 years from now.
The reboot and the remake argument is like I think it's confusing because like you think about James Bond, is that a reboot or a remake?
Oh well, with the Daniel Craig's one, it was definitely a reboot. Because it was supposed to be separate from the other movies. Because technically, the Sean Connery to Pierce Brosnan movies are all supposed to be one character. Yeah, it doesn't make sense because Sean Connery looks older than the dirt Christ walked on, and even as a young man. Yeah. And then Pierce Brosnan was older than Sean Connery was when he did when he did James Bond, and those are all technically supposed to be the same character. But then whenever Casino Royale come out. Yeah, exactly. Whenever Casino Royale come out, it was technically supposed to be a new James Bond. Yeah. And it was No Time to Die. Go see it. It was really good.
To touch on the score, like Hans Zimmer does great. I like the there's like chants almost in each one, and I'm like it fits the tone really well, so I like that.
Well, yeah, because it's like even though this is set in 10,000, there's a lot of like tribal elements to it. Definitely with the Fremen,
because there's supposed to be over like thousands of planets, so it makes sense. And like it's the whole thing of, I mean, we've already been into spoilers, but of the king, the emperor, whatever, sent Atreides there because he wanted to get rid of him because he was threatened by him, and like that's part of the political part, which is I wish they would explore, because they explored the emperor or whatever in the Lynch version, but they didn't in this one.
I think they're probably trying to play him up. If they make a sequel, he'll show up.
That's what I was talking about.
I wonder who they're going to cast.
Like, I'm so interested to see who they're going to cast for that.
Joaquin.
Gonna be Joaquin.
It's gonna be Adam Driver.
Adam Driver.
Dude, that guy's getting some work. Wouldn't be surprised if he's in the next one.
He's getting too much work. He needs to be put down.
No.
Adam Driver, I'm coming for you. This is a threat.
So, one thing I want to touch on, and it's not a lot pro or a con. It's I'm confused. Is the marketing for this movie? When we go into the movie and it says Dune Part 1 as the like title, it doesn't say Dune, and so they're like, whose decision was that? I mean, Warner Bros kept it in, so like I guess
none of the posters and
nothing had it in.
None of the commercials, nothing had this set up as this was going to be the first of like
a saga
movies.
Whatever, so.
It was just like, oh yeah, everything. Oh, this is Dune by Denis Villeneuve or whatever. And then you get in there, it's like Dune Part 1. I'm like, okay, so this is going to be this, but I wish I'd have figured this out like.
Yeah, I wish I would have gone into this.
Yeah, like a couple of months ago, whenever they first announced it or whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
and then. The characters, like Zendaya is like, you go into this and if you don't know Dune, you're probably expecting she's like in it for maybe an hour and a half screen time. She's in it for 7 minutes.
Oh fuck no, less than that.
Most of her stuff is in premonitions, and then when she actually shows up, she has like 3 or 4 lines, and then that's it. And then she smiles at him coyly at the very end of the movie, and I'm like, oh, are they really about to pull like a Starship Troopers on us right now, or are they just end the movie super abruptly? Like
a little bit.
In this movie, she probably only had like 7 or 10 minutes.
It was 7.
Like 7 minutes. Yeah.
No, there's no way that it was like, damn.
So like that was weird, and also that I just mean that with almost any of the characters. Like besides Timothée Chalamet, I didn't expect the mom. Like I didn't know what I was going into this. Even like from from Lynch's version, I just like, is this gonna be different? What's gonna happen? I didn't expect Rebecca Ferguson to have so much screen time. I didn't know what was gonna happen. I didn't expect Momoa's character. Duncan Idaho to be like my favorite character. So I felt like it was very weird how they marketed this movie. Is there any other thing you wanted to touch on, Win?
I don't remember, man. I'm trying to remember what else, because like there were so many things about this movie that I kind of didn't know whether if I should be mad about it or not.
Back to Dune.
The only con that I have for this movie was that Dave Bautista's character's uncle wasn't fat or gross enough. I feel like he could have been fatter and grosser.
Oh yeah, in the first one,
he was horrible.
They were like picking on his face, and I was like, "That's really cool."
Yeah, and then that's like David Lynch.
And then
too.
you get into this one. He's just like, the only gross part is in that weird black goo, and I was like, that's kind of, and like that. Which again, that was another really like they had a lot of really cool moments in the movie, but not like cool entire like sequences. Yeah, but they had a lot of cool moments, like when Dave Bautista's talking to his uncle, and like he's having like a one-sided conversation, I guess, because his uncle's like I guess communicating to him telepathically almost, and then he just rises up out of the black goo, and then he goes back down, and there's that shot of like the nastiness on the black. I thought it was really cool, but again, it was like cool like moments, but like a lot of the scenes, like a lot of the full scenes were like,
Yeah, it's like cool shots, but not full sequences.
And I definitely think another big con for me was like the whole voice side story or whatever. Like they never explain how someone can control somebody by just having like a weird inflection in your voice. Like,
it's the spice.
It's not the spice.
It's not.
No, it's not. No, that's just something that
no,
the
I'm pretty sure it is.
No, the mom. That's from the mom.
But I'm pretty.
She can do that without the spice.
Yeah, she did it.
I'm trying to remember.
No, you're wrong, dude.
Okay, fine.
You're wrong.
We'll move
you're
on.
absolutely
No,
wrong.
I won't argue it. No, it's fine.
Go ahead. Let's talk about it.
Pretty sure I think it's the Belange or whatever they are. It's like they've been introduced to the spice, and they like. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
I don't remember that happening. I could be wrong.
I don't remember. I could be wrong too. So moving on.
The only time I remember, like, the only reason I think that you're right is because Timothy in one of the first acts,
yeah,
because sitting at a table.
She's trying to get him to like. She's like, he's like, hey, can you pass me the water? And she's like, no, command me to give it to you. Which before that, like the rest of that happened, I was like, isn't that supposed to be his mom? This is like really. This is really weird. I know exactly. I'm like, this is like setting straight up exactly like the same thing, man. Like this is like shot for shot. This is weird. I don't know. Like I said, it was a weird side story. I hope they explain it more as to how they can do that. They probably won't though. They probably won't.
Here's something that Will is probably tired of hearing me say.
It could have been a TV show.
I would have loved to see this as a TV show.
Hey, guess what? There is one. So shut the fuck up.
But it's not this one.
It's not this one.
Yeah, but you know what?
It's
got William Hurt, General Ross.
Okay.
He's in the MCU. Go watch it.
I'll watch it. But
William
all
Hurt's-
I'm saying is, how old was that? How old was that?
I think that was 90, 2000.
Yeah, exactly. So
whatever, dude.
With the technology now, you take
Hey, listen. I'm gonna say something that's gonna blow your
Bene
mind.
Gesserit is what the witch.
I think this could have been really good as a TV show.
No, I agree.
Thank you.
I agree, but I just had to get mad for no reason.
The thing is, like, this is a movie that's adapted from a book, and anytime they do
like
book
6
movies,
books,
it sucks.
You're gonna cut. Well, what about Lord of the Rings?
Okay, that's different though.
How is
Yeah,
that
but
different?
No, it's
Lord of the Rings,
different.
they actually took their time to do it.
That's fair.
It's
Well, okay,
different
what about
be-
The Hobbit?
They
Okay,
took their time to do it.
I don't know about that one.
Well, maybe
that
not.
that could have
I
been
haven't
one.
seen
They
The
didn't
Hobbit in a long
split.
time.
They didn't
It's
split.
been a while since I watched that.
no, it's fine. I was gonna
They
say
didn't split.
it's different because Dune is like 6 books. Lord of the Rings is like 3. They're pretty
4, including The Hobbit.
I said
5
Lord
with
of the Rings.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, not Hobbit.
Hobbit is part of the Lord of the
No,
Rings.
it's not.
It's what? What?
Not the movies. No. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Shawshank sucks.
I'm gone. I'm leaving.
No. In Lord of the Rings, like the books aren't entirely. I mean, they're long books, but they're not hard reads.
Yeah, that's
is what I'm trying to say. And like
Dune
they're
is.
And the writer
long.
was involved in the movies too.
yeah.
He was like in there. He was talking to people. Like he was writing with
The
them.
old
so.
J.R.R. Tolkien.
Yeah, he was. No, wait.
Yeah, that's who it was.
Yeah,
J.R.R. Tolkien.
yeah. I think.
I was thinking about.
the
I think I
one
was.
I'm talking about.
I almost said the guy who did like the Game of Thrones books. What George R.R. Martin.
Yeah.
Because there's 2 writers out
Yeah.
there that have like first
Yeah.
double last.
I think that's why. That's probably one of the only reasons why Game of Thrones was so successful and so good was because
In the
the
beginning.
in the
writer.
beginning until you get to season 8, and then it's like they just falls to shit.
But the cinematography I heard was really good, so I might
Well,
check
everything.
it out. Just
Well,
'cause of
like see, that was the thing. The production of Game of Thrones was awesome for the TV show. You know, it was really good. Rip Sean Bean. Word up to my homie in heaven. Or whatever the kids say these days.
Yeah.
Good one.
Read the word up to my home.
I don't need your fucking pity. Will.
But
Sorry,
yeah,
I'm
no,
just
this.
trying to learn about. I'm trying to figure out the voice thing still.
But yeah, this would have been such a good TV show. I think the desert thing could have worked, especially if it was a TV show, because then we'd only have like a few episodes of them being in there. It wouldn't feel like a filler. It would just feel like we're learning more about these characters and we're learning more about the Fremen. Yeah, those people. I genuinely think that they could have done something super cool with each character, and they wouldn't have what they've done in this movie, where only 2 specific characters are in the spotlight, and everyone else is just kind of like, especially Josh Brolin. He died or something. I'm
I don't
pretty
think
sure.
he died. I don't know
Or
if
they
he
didn't
died,
say he died,
he's
but like
he's
It's inferred.
Yeah,
He's
it's
that. He's
inferred.
definitely dead.
Yeah,
But
he's
yeah.
inferred that he's dead, but I don't know. They
and we
might
just
bring him
forget
back.
about him.
Nah, they're gonna bring him back.
Put him in the
Probably.
black goo. He'll be
Put
fine.
him in the black goo. He's
So-
actually in there with Dave.
He's
Bautista's
under
uncle.
He's under
And
them.
they're just rolling
Skarsgård.
around, yeah. Scars, yeah. I thought that's who that
Yeah, it
was.
was.
Yeah,
And
it was
I was like,
Skarsgård.
I could hardly recognize him. I mean, also the makeup in this
Yeah.
movie was really good.
Yeah.
I could hardly
And just to
even-
touch back up on the voice thing, I was wrong. I'll say it, but it's more of like,
good.
well, no, and I like it more than it's the spice. It's like they've trained themselves to do that so much. You can think of it as like the Jedi mind trick. They just
Oh.
and that's more to they've evolved almost as
Well, then-
people, and like it's more about you as the person and not like
I was
Then
gonna
why,
say,
how
it's
come
more like
Rebecca
witchcraft.
Ferguson didn't just get on like a loudspeaker and go, "This is not the spice you're looking for," and then they just all get in their stuff
Yep.
and fly away?
and like it's cool because like this predates Star Wars, so you could think
So
like
Star Wars ripped off Dune, confirmed.
Technically, yes.
it's
Well,
for
I don't know
No,
about
the
10.
movies might.
some
no,
stuff.
The movies.
A little.
There's a good
No,
amount
Dune-
of stuff. I
Star
feel like,
Wars is just a fan fiction by George Lucas of Dune,
about Dune, exactly.
and like that's fine. I mean, look at Star Wars now.
Look at Star Wars now. We get the last trilogy, which is arguably pretty bad.
They're on the right track now with Mando and all that. I'm not,
Yeah, well, they're on the right track now, but we still had 3 movies where they were not on the
hey,
right
Last
track.
Jedi's kind of good.
Are you on crack?
You know what?
Yes.
Because we're in
I
Star
loved
Wars. Well, because we're in Star Wars. How does this compare to Star
modern.
Wars.
I mean, you could even say
Star
compared
Trek
to like
is not.
modern
It's
sci-fi.
not.
What I
want to
think,
say
like,
no. I want to say
marketing-wise,
because
they
like,
are trying to make this
it's more
not
on
necessarily a
par
franchise, but
with Star Wars,
close
stuff,
to
'cause
Star
they have
Wars,
the
close to
Emperor
Star
stuff,
Trek.
And there's like,
Well, you could
like
say
he's
that
he's
Star
like
Trek stuff. I'm modern sci-fi. Like I'm talking like Trek. And the last time we had a movie of it was in the 80s. So 40 years later, what are they going to do with it? And so like they're trying to make money, and so it's, I don't know, makes sense to, they're trying to compete.
Well, but yeah, and another thing though, like Dune did come out in the '60s, all before a lot of these other like sci-fi classics. So I feel like those like Star Wars and Star Trek, and they kind of owe a little bit of their identity to Dune. Because I don't think Star Wars ripped off Dune, but there are some like themes and ideas that kind of like permeate themselves through both franchises that are like the same, in a sense. But I definitely think like Dune is kind of in a different like area of sci-fi than like Star Wars and stuff like that, because Star Wars is pretty easy to understand.
Yeah.
Like Dune,
It reminds me a lot of
pretty different.
there's a lot of movies, because the original dude, the Lynch version, my granddad showed it to me. I remember loving it when I was younger. But there's ones that remind me of it, like I think there's one called like Stargate.
Oh, yeah,
Like
Stargate,
those type of movies, like I can't think, there's more, because
was Stargate a movie or was it a TV show?
It was a TV show.
I'm pretty sure there's a movie.
There is a Stargate movie. There is a Stargate
probably.
movie. I'm pretty sure.
I
But
was-
yeah,
I
I
was
think it
ready.
started out as a TV show.
But
like
like
Star
movies
Trek.
like that is what I liked. These like, it's not Star Wars or Star Trek. Like it's more serious sci-fi. Like
Yes.
this felt more serious than, and I think that's where it can kind of fall off, because I feel like sci-fi has become like a very like fun, like look at Guardians, look at Star Wars, like that's like your alien stuff, while this one is like we're talking about politics, we're talking about human beings like as people, and like I don't think we get that. So I really like
Well, Star Wars is kind of the same though.
it
It
is.
does,
It
in
does.
a sense, but there's a lot more.
But now
goofy
Disney
moments.
owns them,
Yeah, so
and
say
that's
that Disney owns it, and plus, even in like the original trilogy and like the prequels, there was a lot of goofy moments. I didn't really feel like there was a lot of goofy moments in Dune.
No.
There was not any points where I was like, ah. Actually, there was a point where I got scared when he yelled.
It was
at his
definitely
mom.
more.
Oh yeah.
It was the first time he had like raised his voice, and there was any like he himself yelling, and it was like really quiet. And then all of a sudden, like again, that's where it comes in with the audio mixing. Is like he's so quiet, and then he gets super loud, and I was like, ugh, just jumped out of my almost jumped out of my seat.
I think I was more leaning towards like the story, not just like the way they make it and all that stuff. What I'm trying to compare is,
Oh, like the story of Dune versus the story of Star Wars.
yeah, no, I get that. I definitely get that. What I'm kind of still at lost at is that, yeah, you have this like Empire dude, and like you can compare that with Star Wars. They have them, and then like there's one group of people trying to take over this planet, and it's almost the same as Star Wars, where they're trying to. It's been a long time since I watched Star Wars. I need to watch the whole thing, but what I'm saying is like, in comparison to Star Wars, the story, is it more focused on the terrorists, or is it more focused on like the governing areas of the world?
In Dune, I don't know. It's Dune is like more focused. I feel like in this movie, it's definitely more focused on like the people invading.
Yeah,
Like it's definitely more focused on like the Empire and the House of Atreides, and the other dude that Dave Bautista's part of, whose name eludes me. Like those guys are definitely the focal point of this movie, and I feel like that kind of comes back to the fact that this is like a 2.5 hour trailer for Dune 2 almost.
But is it like Empire Strikes Back? Like let's say, like it's not like, I'm not talking about like the movies or anything. I'm talking about the story. Is it like somewhat the same? Because last time I saw Empire Strikes Back was like 10 years ago.
Now that I'm unsure of. Like I'm not super sure.
I don't know. I think you could
what
compare
more
this
focus.
actually to like
Well, if it focused more on the Fremen and the later things, then it definitely focused more on.
You can kind of compare it to like A New Hope or even Empire Strikes Back, where it kind of ends with like this moment of like they get to the sand people, they get to he's like sand power. I'm like, that was kind of a goofy line.
No, that was super. That was he said it multiple times. Like it was like at the beginning of the movie, he's like sand power, and then he says it again towards the end of the movie, and I'm like, why? What is with this line? I don't like it.
Why do you like sand?
So it doesn't sound tough. It
just
just
doesn't
sounds,
at all.
It sounds
like
goofy.
sand power.
Sand
I'm
power.
Like, I mean, what? The power to like get inside of your clothes and be a nuisance.
Forgot about
like
that shit.
such a weird. Like, that's another thing where I was like, the lines in this movie were either like super impactful or. Those are where the goofy moments come from. It's like the dialogue in this movie is like pretty goofy.
Some of them just sounds really lazy.
I don't know. It's just weird.
I think
Dune is just a weird universe.
What I love about this movie so much is like Jason Momoa does Jason Momoa in every movie. He either so when he meets someone, he either hits them or like he like gives them a hug or something.
What's up?
Oh, how you doing,
what's
boy?
up? Yeah.
He does that all the time.
And he picks them up because he's like always bigger than everybody around him.
I think that's where it gets really lazy for some of the characters.
And again, it's like I do agree with that like wholeheartedly. Jason Momoa is pretty much typecast as like a guy, like
the buddy.
Is like the buddy who's big and strong and who does stuff. And like honestly, I think the only one that kind of broke the mold a little bit was like Aquaman, because he plays the main character. I've seen him a lot as like a side character, but then he plays like a main character in that movie. But he still plays Jason Momoa.
Yeah. Well, it's like in Justice League, he is just
then he's
Jason.
back. Yeah, now he's back to being a side character, buddy, who's like, oh, nice place,
my man,
I did like him in this movie though.
Yeah, he was really good. In my opinion, he was the best character. I feel like the character that I really could, as much as I hate to say this, character I really couldn't care that much about because he had like nothing in terms of screen time or lines or anything, was Josh Brolin's character.
Yeah,
he had like nothing. Like the only thing we see is that he kind of cares for like Timothy whatever's
like
character
in his future,
because he like grabs him or whatever. I'll give him a little hug or whatever.
I think Will and I already had a conversation about this movie yesterday before we went to the theater. Something that him and I agree on is that we felt nothing about this movie. Like I didn't feel shit. I didn't care about the characters. I thought the cinematography was cool. I thought the sound design was great. It's just
because like
just don't care about anybody.
The scene that really cemented it for me in terms of wow, this movie is just a bunch of nothing, but it's like a bunch of really beautiful nothing, is that scene where he kills that guy, and it's like the first time he's ever killed anybody, and it's supposed to be this really like impactful scene.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm like, why the hell are we spending so much time on this guy's death? Like, I get that it's a big thing, but I mean,
so, and to play devil's advocate of like,
because of course
we don't care because we don't have it. I think we're kind of spoiled. God bless. I think we're kind of spoiled because Hollywood's based on nostalgia now, and this is not.
I don't give a shit about nostalgia.
I know, but you can both of you can be cynical, but there's a lot of me's out there that love like.
Yeah, well, there's also a bunch of us's out there.
You're right.
There's nothing cynical about not liking nostalgia.
Well,
it's just it's just weird to stick on to nostalgia too much.
But I mean, look how many Halloween movies we have. Look how many, like whoever it is. God damn it. Universal, whoever did Jaws, like they've wanted to make, they wanted to reboot Jaws forever, but Steven Spielberg's like, over my dead body, like they want to.
Guess what's going to happen as soon as he dies?
I'm going to
19 Jaws
kill
movies.
myself.
Oh, it's like the Back to the Future people.
Well,
like the writer was like, oh yeah, over my dead body, and now they're just waiting for him to die.
I think it's interesting. I do think this isn't a well-known thing amongst like common people. Like nerds know Dune.
Common people.
No,
Will's confirming that he thinks that everyone is beneath him.
No, I think there is a lot of people that like Dune. Well, maybe not this generation, but back then, from what my dad talked about, he said, yeah, there were people that showed up. They liked Dune, and then when Star Wars came out, they even liked that even more. And like,
well, exactly. I just think Dune's not as big as other franchises that we have.
And I do like slightly agree with your nostalgia like argument or whatever. It's just for me. I feel like if you rely too much on nostalgia, then it can turn into like shitty movies.
Well, and I agree. I think it's a great movie because it's an individual story.
Yes, I feel like they did have a great balance of like, okay, well, we're gonna make something that was old that we like, but they also did it their own way, and it doesn't. Like I could watch this without having seen the original and still enjoy it. Like,
yeah,
it's
that's
not
what
like,
happened to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I liked a lot of the visual stuff. I haven't seen the old one before that. I may have seen it like once and just never cared about it. But the thing about for me is that like I've never really thought about nostalgia for this movie or anything like that. All I could think of was how is this movie gonna be good? How is this movie gonna be impactful in any way or something like that. I never really thought like nostalgia because there was nothing indicating nostalgia to me. There wasn't like.
Well, I was playing devil's advocate, to be fair, on like the nostalgia trip stuff, because like I do have nostalgia for this movie, but I even told you when in like previous videos and even outside, like I didn't have hope for this movie mostly. I'm like, it's gonna.
You told me that.
I was like, it's gonna be beautiful. Can confirm, and it was. But like it exceeded my expectations because I wasn't expecting anything. But like there were great characters. It was great storytelling. It wasn't just solely visuals, even though they were my favorite part. I think it was just still really a good story. So
it was like overall, I thought it was a really good movie,
and can't wait for part 2.
And honestly, I think all the criticisms that I saw about this, I can't agree with them. It's like, yeah, they were right. It is probably only this good. I'm not gonna say yet like the ratings and stuff, but
I don't know. We might
it's only let's get to the ratings actually because I'm curious.
Yeah, the last point I have is, do we think we're gonna get a part 2?
Probably. I hope so.
I hope so.
I actually like going into the movie. I was like, even if there is a part 2, depending on how this is, because I was kind of in the same boat with you. I was like, this movie's gonna look amazing, but I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy the story in it. And I actually come out enjoying the story. I was kind of blown away a little bit just because. And I think I was trying to hive the visuals.
It's like. Yeah, it's a lot of world building
for this part 2. It is a lot of world building, which is always unfortunate with like the start of a saga of movies. But it's kind of the way of the beast. It's the nature of the beast, really. But I hope there's a second part.
Yeah, I think we will. I think right now it's about 120, 130 internationally. They need like 400 something to break even. I think domestically they'll probably do 30 or 40 mil opening weekend. So I think they might break even, might not. We'll see.
I feel like they'll break even. The reviews that I've heard,
and depending how they're scaling in HBO Max, also.
Yeah, that's
matters,
true.
So.
That's true.
Because this is kind of the last big movie for HBO Max's streaming to theater like simultaneous. So we'll see on part 2. But let's get to our ratings. TJ. So you know how we do this?
Out of 10 critically
so
and
we do
entertainment.
a critical, and then we do our entertainment value.
Okay,
so critically out of 10, 1 out of 10, 10 being the best.
Critically, I want to give it like 6.5, maybe like a 7.
Okay.
Entertainment, 9.5, because I really like. Other than like the little bit of gripes I've had, which knocks off like that half a point, I was in love with how the movie looked. I loved what was happening. I thought the cinematography and the choreography and everything was on point. The soundtrack was awesome. Really enjoyed the movie. Like it's not my top 10, but it might be in my like top 20. It was really good. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Win? You want to go last?
Yeah, I'll go last.
Okay. So for critical, I'm gonna say, I need my list because like I like to look at that and like not undershoot something. I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
Yep, there it is.
But yeah, it's a good. Everything that TJ said, I agree. I'm excited for part 2. Even like the fact I didn't have any nostalgia for it, like, is also like a huge pro for it because my granddad who has passed is like, and he showed me this movie, and there's a good moment there for it and memory. So I like it. The fact I didn't have any made it almost better. So, but entertainment wise, I'm gonna say agree. I'll just agree with TJ. Just 9.5. I thought it was just pretty, man. That alone could make a movie 10 for me. Just like the looks of it.
Well, yeah, a movie can have a great script and a great story, but if it looks like shit, I'm not gonna watch it.
Go watch Lamb. Exactly. Lamb was beautiful.
Go watch Lamb. When?
Critically, I'm gonna give it a 4.5.
I knew it. I knew it was gonna be between 4 and a 5.
Yeah. I say 4.5 because I hate the sequel mentality. I don't like leaving crowds like unsatisfied. The ending of a story or of a movie is like it either has to be satisfactory or just like something that people can walk away with.
So,
but what about entertainment?
Entertainment. I'm gonna give it a 5.
Damn.
Because you were half and half.
No, because this movie this is in every movie that I watch. Story always comes first. The only time I'll ever give it like a 7 or 10 for like for entertainment is when the story's great and maybe the looks awful, like the visual looks awful, but if I enjoyed it enough, I'll give it a 10 if the story's good and I enjoyed it. But this movie was definitely not it. I felt like that. I'm not gonna say the story didn't come first, but the story was pretty badly done. The visuals were great, but the story just cut short. I was not satisfied with the ending.
And this is why we have Win to big brain it. So I look like an idiot.
Yeah, well, it's funny because
not an idiot because different strokes for different folks. But before we wrap this up, I just want to say one thing. If you haven't watched our Halloween, I'm gonna continue on that accent. If you haven't watched the Halloween video, go watch it because Win gave the same rating of Halloween as Dune. So I just think that's why I like to look at my list.
I haven't seen Halloween Kills yet, but I have heard it's pretty bad.
Like I just find it interesting.
What? Find the movie interesting? Or
no, the fact that Win gave this a 4.5 and Halloween a 4.5.
Yeah, well, if I definitely had to choose between the two, I'd watch Dune.
Yeah,
and I did because
I just that's why I like looking at my list.
Halloween needs to kill itself.
No. I don't even know why that's a comparison. 4.5.
Because
I don't.
Because like the thing is like the story's still bad. So
it's like. Look, if you guys are gonna argue, can we stop at McDonald's and get some ice cream?
Well,
or
hold
something?
on. Let's wrap it up.
We're gonna turn into a 30.
In all fairness,
I just want to call him out.
If you think about 4.5, this movie is like 2 hours long.
2.5.
So that's actually, if you scale it to like maybe like the length of the movie, that's actually maybe around 6 if it was like scaled down to.
You're only under attack if you feel like you're under attack. When.
He's not under
This is a safe space, okay?
It's all out of love.
No, I'm saying I'm trying to make sense of this. I'm trying to make sense of this.
I think our ratings are even mine are all jacked up, and that's why I'm looking at the list. So I have a nice.
I've explained this before. I hate ratings.
Well, we're a review show. I'm sorry.
That's the only reason why. Yeah, that's the only reason why.
Yeah, seriously, we gotta have some sort of thing. Well, you guys do.
I give it 6.5 spices out of 10 spices.
I give it 3 wet kisses and 2 hot dogs.
Admittedly, I want to do like an A+ kind of rating more than anything.
Okay. Well, so I don't like
a C-. Is
the thing.
This movie? Probably around C- to a D.
I'd give it a B+.
Like I don't like this because it's like
because if you do like critically,
I feel like those are more bias.
I don't know about that. Yeah,
you didn't even come up with your own numbers. You just copied mine.
I gave it one higher than you did, dumbass.
Yeah, but you took the entertainment.
I think what he means is like more biased than he already is.
I am biased.
There's a lot.
I have a lot of biases.
There was a lot of nostalgia in this movie for old Wilsterfer back here.
Well,
you guys are both the same to me.
It's fair. Anyways, though, we'll wrap it up.
I don't see color.
Thank y'all for watching. We've been the Continuity Crew. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and share with somebody. If they watch Dune, make them watch this.
Don't forget to this.
Who's this?
To this.
Who's this?
Oh, I'm TJ.
Who's that?
I'm hungry.
That's Win. And as always, thank y'all for watching. We love movies, and we love y'all, and we'll see y'all on the next one. Bye.